Hey everyone, I just got the generator home from the truck camp. If you saw that, we use this generator to supply power to the truck camp, and it worked really good. Starts up really nicely. Everything on it is just great. So on the way back, I brought it to the tire shop. I left them with the spare tire, but they said it's in their policy that they are not allowed to touch this type of rim. They said if I take it off, they will work on it. They would have let me take it off there at the shop and borrow their jacks. I declined because they said there's a good chance I'm going to break these things off. So we're going to put some WD-40 all over these bolts before I try to get them off. Keep in mind, this rim supposedly has not been off since the 1980s. That's what the previous owner told me. So I'm going to give this a while, give it an hour for that WD-40 to really get in there. These two-piece rims, they said, are too dangerous for them to work on. Their policy doesn't allow it because if these things become slightly loose for any reason, there's not much grip in that and it can slip and let the wheel run away because it leaves the center of this in there. But I'm going to take these off myself, bring them back to the tire shop. They'll replace the valve stems. This tire is actually in fairly good condition. I don't see actually any dry rot. A little bit, but it's really minimal. And if we walk over here to the other side of the trailer, this is what I'm going to have to plow down the bushes to work on. But I got some jacks. Now this is the one that's very, very suspicious. When I bought this thing, I was afraid to bring it on the highway, so I just brought it back in the middle of the night to the truck camp. Remember when I got this thing, I just went really slow with it. Went really slow again, avoided highways today. Actually, that's a lie. I used the highway in one area, but the minimum is 45. I was going about 55 instead of the posted speed limit of 65. So we'll let this soak in for a while. Maybe give some grease to this bearing. The other one doesn't have a grease fitting, so we'll see about that. It's not making any squeaking noises. You get out, this thing was just on the road, nothing's hot, so that's good. I think these old rims kind of look cool, but apparently they're going to be a real pain in the butt for me. Maybe next season I want to replace this housing right here, because see how rotted it is? But that could go quite a few more years, I think. So while we're waiting for those to hopefully come off, I want to start this thing up, let it run for like a half an hour, get fully up to temperature. We're going to give it an oil change. I don't know how much oil it uses. Really don't know. Doesn't say anything like that on it. So this is how you change the oil. It's got this hose right here. I'll put a drip pan underneath it, turn that valve, and then when we get out of it, I'm gonna pour it into like 1 gallon milk jugs to give us, I guess, a good estimate of what's in it. We gotta measure it out somehow. Then I'm gonna remove these fuel filters, remove this oil filter. I brought it to Napa Auto Parts on the way back, but these are the only ones the guy could tell me about. He has no idea what would be in this. He also has no idea what's in there, so we got to open that up, take the filter out, bring all these parts in person so they can order them, and we'll likely have to put this stuff on again in a couple of days, so we have to start it up. I got to go get my jacks. I have a floor jack. I also have some jack stands that I'm borrowing from the truck camp. Not really borrowing them, but moved them here. So, all right, we gotta go get the batteries attached on this thing. All right, so let's jack it up. I'm gonna need something to jam under here because we don't have the space. All right, I want to try loosening those lugs first. Then this jack stand will fit under there. Unfortunately, the one from my truck will not work, so all I got is a socket. Be back with the impact driver. It's actually slowly moving. Did you see that? They all moved. Some better than others, but they all moved. We're not going to break anything. I'm so happy. All right, now that they're broken, let's get this thing up. Good. That is so ear-piercing. Oh my gosh. No luck on this side. Only one of them wants to free up. This is the rustier, more rotten side. So this might have been parked against a house or something for a while. All right, I don't want the drill to overheat, so I'm gonna try whacking them a little bit. That was the good one. I got them all. The mallet didn't even help. I'm just stronger than this thing. This thing's good for, I guess, breaking free the rust, but this is better. Look at that. They're super tight, but they're moving. I don't think they're gonna break since they're moving. Like, this one's really tight. All right, get rid of that breaker bar, and I'm gonna use this big ratchet now. That'll make life a little easier. All right, let's get this up on the jack stand now before we loosen it too much. Are you gonna? I hope you're not gonna pull off the other stand, are you? It's an awkward spot working on this hill, but I don't have any other space around the property. But we're good. The whole rear end of it is up. Alright, I guess you guys don't need to come off. You haven't been apart in 40 years. One of those bolts was crying if you heard that. Alright, let's get the batteries attached to this thing. I want to run it. I want to take all the oil filters and stuff off it, so I only have to make one more trip into town. Alrighty. Here's one of the batteries. So these military generators run on 24 volts. It needs two 12-volt batteries put together in series to make 24. And this thing, let me show you the controls on this. First, I gotta take off the exhaust covers so bees and mice don't get in it. Alright, so we're gonna let this thing run for a while. It has right here, it says battery generator. That gauge doesn't move. So I'm thinking that it has an alternator for the battery, but it's not working. I know when I was using this last week, I had to jump it off the car or trickle charge it for a bit to get it to start because the batteries were dead. It wasn't turning over. But I was relieved. I thought the starter had a flat spot. So, let's start this thing up. Even in the warmer weather, today's about 55 degrees, 12 degrees Celsius. It's not that cold, but this thing's still, the glow plugs help a lot to get it going. I let this run for like 30 minutes. This thing's pretty fuel efficient. I was running it last week on idle and, well, a little more than idle. It did good. It only burned 4 or 5 gallons of fuel in 18 hours. When I was told it would burn 8 gallons every 12, but I guess that would be, you have it pulled all the way out full throttle. So it has idle, but we want to start it with like half of the throttle out. So just hold this, preheating it for a good 10, 20 seconds. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think that's enough. Then I prime it for a little bit. So this is the prime and run for the auxiliary fuel pump, which means I could have it on any size tank. This is its onboard tank. And this is the lights. If it was dark out, these lights work. They're green, so you can't see it from a distance if the enemy's around. All right, here we go. I should have given it glow plugs a little more. right, everyone, I let that run for 25 minutes. It's very hot, too hot to touch, so that should have got all the oil circulating. So now I got this oil pan, which will tell us approximately how many quarts it is. Gotta be very careful with this. That's a plastic valve. I can still hear the oil dripping down from inside the engine. Ah, it's moving. There we go. That is some hot stuff. That motor oil will be good for preserving some wood. What do you think? I'm thinking about 4 or 5. This isn't exactly straight. We're on a hill, so far it's saying 2. I feel like that's a lot more. It's not slowing down yet. Ah, here we go. Here's the end of it. So I gotta wait until it's done dripping and I'll put it on a flat surface. All right, that motor oil. I was told by the previous owner this thing ran for about 100 hours, which isn't that much for what it is. On the old oil change, it's been in there 4 years. When I started running this thing about a week ago, I only put maybe 20 something hours on this thing, and it had pretty new looking oil when I checked the dipstick, but now it turned black really fast just running it. So it's hard to believe that the old owner actually put 100 hours on it. I feel like the oil's newer than he was thinking. So we'll let that drip a while. And this is still extremely hot. I can't pick that up. I feel like I'll drop it. So I'll get some gloves or something to pick it up with, and I want to put that on a flat surface so I can get a good look at that. But it's looking like 4 quarts this thing takes. Like, if I straighten it out. All right, that's pretty straight. It's up to the line. It's just covering 4. So I'll buy like 5-6 quarts just to be safe. Once I put 4 quarts in the engine, I'm gonna obviously check it just to make sure. And this thing here, unlike a car, it doesn't seem to have an oil cap. I think you just pour it down the dipstick. All right, while we're still waiting for that to drip, I want to get all these filters off it. See if we can get that oil filter off too. I better spray that with some WD-40. That looks pretty rusty. That don't look like it's been off in a while. Let's drink this real quick. Damn, that thing has so much oil in it. I just walked away for literal minutes and it's still dripping out like that. I guess I've never seen that before because all the ones on my car are downwards. It's not even gonna fit in this bottle. This thing's nice and warm. Like a very comfortable warm to be touching. Not that hot anymore. Thank you. It says Napa on it. I thought it was going to be a military one, which you can't buy. So you'd have to figure out what's equivalent to it. I got these big Ziploc bags so it doesn't make a mess in my car. Because I got to bring this to Napa so they know what to order. Get back on just so mice and stuff can't get in there, because this thing, when I started it, you can smell mouse piss burning. They like going in this thing, and when I put it away for the year, I gotta put mothballs inside all the engine compartments. Now I know for next time I need another oil pan underneath this. But now I got some rags that are good for starting a campfire up. So, yeah, this thing uses definitely 6 quarts at least. A dirty engine's a happy engine. It's good to have this oil everywhere. It'll preserve the trailer. But this will all dry up pretty soon anyways. And I'm just gonna leave this guy here dripping. Now we gotta get those fuel filters off. Greasy hands. Yeah, I'm gonna need some gloves and I'm gonna go rinse this oil off myself. Alright, so we now know this thing uses 6 quarts of oil. It's still dripping a little bit, but if that was on flat surface, it would be up to the 6 quart line. I got some gloves that are rubbery. This should come off now. Yeah, there we go. It's gonna be full of diesel fuel. Let me try that again. Maybe not. All right, we're good. I thought it was siphoning at first. Might have to grab it with something. And I'm all lubed up too, so that's not good. All right, the air filter. So right here, there's this thing, it says to push and move it back and forth. It's like a damper to give it different amounts of air. It says for normal weather is where it's stuck. But I've been spraying out with WD-40 for days. I don't think it's gonna move. But this, at least, which I have sprayed, is opening nicely. I'm hoping this is another Napa filter. Hopefully it's in fairly good shape, if not. January 2010. It's the guy wrote on it. That's a good practice to do. That's what my dad used to do. Write dates on all his filters and stuff. I'm gonna do that today. Okay, good. That's moving. I'll probably spray that with a little oil too, so it doesn't lock up in the future. Oh, it's plastic. That's not gonna rust. It could actually. It's very dirty. It's full of a lot of rust particles. Let's just put this lightly back on there so mice and creatures don't go in there in the couple days it takes to get this in. All right, I'll just leave that thing there dripping. We're gonna bring those off to the store. All right, back from the tire shop. That is our spare. And this is the one for this side. That more rusty one is the one that went on that side. I wanna clean that up a little bit before we put it back on there. Tire shop did a good job with these. There's no way to balance this type of tire, they said, and good luck finding someone that even has a machine that does this type of wheel anymore, but that's okay. Don't plan on traveling with this thing that often. It's okay if it's a little off balance. Oil filter, fuel filters, the air intake filter, those are all on order. I can pick them up in a day, they said, at Napa. So in the time being, I'm gonna get the wheels back on, get it back down on the ground, and we'll deal with all that in the morning. All right, we got those things on there really nice. And I realized those are off-road tires. They're pretty rugged. It says that they're trail tires. All right, that one went on really good. That other one just didn't seem to ever get tight. I had to keep going and going on the other one. I used some WD-40 to get the lugs back in too. They were pretty stuck, and you saw when I was torquing it, the trailer moved a little. It was on the edge of this brick and it fell off. It's okay. At least it doesn't have the stupid plastic wheel that would have broken from that. I'll just jack it back up. No big deal. I guess it's good that I don't have a paved or especially a concrete driveway. I'd be making some stains. No big deal. Just that awkward position I was in knocked it off the brick. Couldn't have rolled anywhere though. It's not that steep of a hill. It's very gradual. But we'll be back in the morning. I'm gonna clean up all the tools now because we don't really need any of this stuff. Good morning, everyone. We're about to go pick up those filters that should have showed up. Didn't expect the rain last night, but thankfully all my tools are pretty oily. Nothing stuck to them. I thankfully shut the toolbox. Didn't expect it to be raining, but that's okay. Most stuff was put away. All right, everyone. This should be pretty easy going now that we got all the parts in. The one part didn't come in, so I just went with a different company. It's just not Napa name brand. This is one of the fuel filters, but that's fine. We got a air filter that came in overnight. We got oil. We got more oil. Here's the other fuel filter. And here's the oil filter. Got the funnel to put the oil in. I'm going to put it in slowly, and I'm going to keep checking the dipstick towards the end a lot. Good thing I covered up all this stuff later on last night. I can't find an oil cap on this thing anywhere. Maybe there is, but I'm just not seeing it. So we're going to put it down the dipstick. But first thing is first. First thing is first. We got to put the oil filter in, obviously, before we fill it up with oil. We got to figure out which one of these is the oil filter. The boxes are the same size. It doesn't tell you what's in them except by the number, and I don't know what that means. So, not this one. There it is. There it is. It came with the new gaskets I gotta go and put on. Looks like it gave us 2 of them. I don't know if we need both of those. Let's go look. All right, at the moment, I'm very skeptical about putting this in. I might reuse the old one because this gasket looks pretty thick. The one that's in there, yeah, absolutely. This is, I don't know if that's gonna fit. I'm very skeptical about pulling that out. All right, we're gonna try reusing the gasket that's on there because this one is definitely too thick. Remember, all the parts for this are things that fit the military generator, but not necessarily go to it because you can't buy military parts. So, I get it absorbing in there. Alright, just snug. That should be fine. It's windy, that's gonna fall, but we'll wait for a little bit more of it to get out of there. All right, neither of them have the internal gaskets. This Napa one came with it. The cheap one did not come with it, the other brand. But I guess I'm gonna put that on, shouldn't I? I'm gonna fill it up with clean diesel to avoid air pockets that it has to prime out of itself. There you go. I thought you would have fell a lot faster than that. Nice. All right, let's check the dipstick before we pour more in there. All right, it's showing up on the dipstick, but we're not even up to the minimum yet. All right, we gotta put more oil. Remember, we got 6 out of it, and each of these is about 4. So it took the other one. We're gonna go ahead and put half of this one in, and then we'll be getting somewhere. All right, I'm gonna let that settle down, get out of the funnel for a few minutes, and In the meantime, we're gonna put the filter for the air intake on. Then we'll get back to that and dipstick it again. All right, good. There's no rain in it, but there is rust on the bottom, which means water's been getting in it. That's probably why it's so rusty in there. And this thing probably sat for a year at a time by the old owner. When he starts it up, the rumbling gets all the dust. That's probably why the old one was full of rust chips. It'll probably happen again. What do you think I should do? Maybe I should spray the inside of that with some oil or something to get that to stop. Or maybe I should just spray paint the inside of it. What do you think? Maybe next time we change this out. All right, I want to get my Sharpie. I want to write on that like I did with the other stuff. Today is 9/25/24. 9/25/24. All right. In there just like that. Nice and snug. All right, now that switch right here to control airflow, I think water can maybe get in through that, but water can get in probably through this open seam. But if I slide it down here, I think that's a little better, having it off to the side. All right, let's see what we're doing now. Actually, that is perfect. Look at this. We are right to the maximum line. That's awesome, just in case this engine, since it's older, burns oil. That's perfect. Nice. Almost overfilled it, but we got it perfect. So we'll save this for next time, this little bit of clean oil. Maybe we'll find it burning oil. We'll see once we run it a while. Don't need to do an oil change every year. It's an emergency generator. I'm gonna run it every couple months for about a half an hour just to make sure it's in working condition. And I can't wait to see how this thing behaves during a winter cold start. All right, we're all cleaned up. The oily part of it actually looks better. So, no leaks. Want to monitor the end of this, make sure nothing's leaking over the next day. Hopefully this thing doesn't have any hiccups with bubbles in the line. That's why I tried to fill it as much as possible, putting it back in there. And I'm sure those are going to be real wet when I put them on. Shut off the main breaker so I don't zap myself on something that might be all wet. Put this back on so it didn't accidentally get started with no oil in it. That should be charged enough to turn it over. We got a good amount of fuel. I'll probably fill that right back up before we put it away for winter. I'm also going to put anti-gelling into the diesel fuel, because if you try to start one of these things when it's -40 out, the fuel turns to jello, literally. It will start to freeze. It gets really thick. You're never starting it. So actually, I'm going to do that right now. So we're going to open up the fuel. We're going to put this stuff in there, anti-gelling. So for 5 gallons, this thing we imagine is 8 or 10. So we got to put 2 ounces in, which isn't much. It's really not much. Come on off. It's okay to put a little extra. It's fine. I think we definitely put like 4 or 5 in there, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna mix it around a little bit, and I'm not keeping this thing here all winter. It'll swish it around a little when I move it, but right now I'm gonna run it for a while, so we need this to get through all the oil. I mean, the fuel filters we just put in. This needs to get going all the way to the engine, because if it's not, then the engine's still not gonna start. It doesn't matter if the stuff in the fuel tank didn't gel up. All the lines have to be not gelling up too. That stuff I just added really adds to the smell of the fuel. Makes this fuel smell really strong. Now looking down at this tank, it's hard to believe it's only 3/4 of the way full. I wonder if that gauge actually is accurate. I wonder if it'll even get to the full mark, because it looks like we only have an inch to go. So that's a little unbelievable. It'll also prevent this rust from occurring that I see in the spout. Oh, it's climbing fast. We're gonna run this for a good hour. I want everything in those new fuel filters to be filled with this gelling stuff. Yeah, this is not completely accurate. And now I'm now seeing. So I guess when it says E, it probably still got a bit in it. Maybe they do that on purpose so you don't accidentally run it down, because I heard if you run a diesel engine down, it kind of messes things up if you let it run out. All right, so we're gonna go ahead now and try to start this. I keep my fuel over here in this just because I don't want to have all that in my garage. It's attached to the house. There's my diesel. Keep everything in there. And we have a friend right here. This is my favorite type of spider right here. This is called an orb weaver. They're very friendly. They build the nicest webs, and it's fun to just throw them little bugs. They build nests around all the security lights. It's awesome to leave the lights on this time of year outside at night. Gives them a lot of food. I love these guys. Just gotta not crush him. Ah, he's good. All right, let's put these wet things on and start it up. Hopefully it goes good. Give it glow plugs for a while, because today is actually feeling kind of cold. You can tell winter's coming. Today's high temperature is like 10 degrees Celsius, 50 Fahrenheit. It is cold today. Winter's coming. October is in, I think, 4 or 5 days, and we can snow in October. Our growing season ends in 5 days. So I'm going to let that go for a little bit too. It says it's priming it. I don't know how much that helps or hurts. It seems to be going slow. I hope the batteries aren't dead, because this thing's alternator doesn't work. I might have to jump it if it doesn't start. Let's see. I think the battery's just weak. Now hopefully it doesn't stall when it gets a possible air pocket going up to it. So I'm gonna let this run for a good hour now. What time is it? 4:52 in the afternoon. We're gonna let this go for a full hour. It's still smoking, so it's got new oil, so let's see how it runs. All right, stop smoking. That's pretty normal for it. It does that for a minute or so every time you move it around or so. It seems to smoke more every time you bring it down the road. I always imagine it's just oil getting in the wrong spot. Or it's just cold out. It's running nice. I'll give you an update in an hour, or if something happens. I still gotta clean up some of my stuff. Alright everyone, it's been about 50 minutes. I'm about to go shut that off. Because I had my tools in the rain, I took everything out, dumped out a little bit of water there was, put everything back in, but they're coated, everything's coated in WD-40, so nothing rusts up. This is a very helpful toolkit. This is a set of sockets and stuff I got from my dad. They're like 50 years old, but they're really good quality. Same with this. I just oiled up all the tools before I wash my hands off. It prevents everything from rusting. Mice are disgusting. When I started that generator, I could smell it. Burning mouse piss. The old owner warned me about that at the truck camp. Here, everywhere I move that generator, it smells like that in the morning when I first start it. So I know it's attracting mice for some reason. I don't know if they like the smell of fuel. Lots of animals, bugs, they like the smell of fuel. I don't know why. But something's attracting them, so the old owner told me to put mothballs in there, so I'm going to throw this whole sack of them in the engine compartment. If there's still an issue, I'll throw them in more of the engine compartments. There's a bunch of spots on that thing that are waterproof that you could throw these bags. And I'm also going to put these underneath the generator where the rain won't touch them. I'm going to set these tonight. They're super simple compared to a traditional mouse trap. Traditional mouse traps, I usually set it with a screwdriver and carefully back off so I don't snap my finger. These are super easy. For $6 you get 2 of them. They're big. They're bigger than the wooden ones, so it's rarer when a mouse is able to get, like if it gets its legs stuck and it runs away with your trap. You could always screw it to a board too. This one you'd want to somehow screw it underneath there. I'm not sure how. But these ones are easy to set because it's just single push. Just single push. Nice. Now these ones are more reliable because they have a very strong jaw with teeth, and it's a pressure plate. If you touch that, you get snapped. They're very reliable compared to the wooden ones, and I use them in my garage. They're very reliable. It's that time of year, mice are going to be coming in the garage. So when mice are going to be coming in the garage, these ones, don't buy the ones by Victor. They suck, honestly. This one, the mouse is supposed to try to lift up that little thing, and then the thing comes down on the mouse trying to open the little door. They do work, but they're not reliable. These ones are super reliable, always getting mice in them. And these ones right here, see, once the peanut butter starts to become moldy, it won't attract mice. If you try putting peanut butter over the mold, it's going to spread to it in a few days. They're plastic. I know it sounds gross, but go ahead, put them all in the dishwasher for a day, or just soak them overnight in the sink. Cleans them right on up. Alright, was anyone able to hear that, like, rattling sound? Is that bearings maybe in the fan or something? I don't know if there's anywhere to put grease or something on it. That's what I'm wondering. Right now, I'm going to come out here and... Okay, so this is just probably heating up. I don't think this is actually leaking there. I think that's just heating up, but we will keep an eye on that, because there was a good amount of spillage. Let's look in there. Don't think it's leaking. It's just a good amount earlier when I filled it up and primed it. So check this again. We're gonna park this thing for long-term storage because winter's coming up now. This is where I was told by the last owner to go put mothballs. I also want to spray things in here, he noted, like this. That spring down there, this is all part of the throttle to make sure nothing goes wrong. It's actually not hot in here like I thought it was going to be after an hour. So yes, we can go ahead and just touching things gently. Nothing's hot back there that I can feel. So we're just going to stuff that in there. Go ahead, shut this. Come on, one more. Good. this under here because it stinks, and I think they're showing up every night because this engine now is going to be hot for hours. Put another one in here where I know that won't get wet. There we go. And yeah, just trying to set this thing up so it lasts a long time. So it sounds like in here where the fan is, something needs oiling. Like, what's this cap? I don't know what these things are. Is there a spot somewhere on here for oil or something? That's what I'm wondering. How do I get that little cap to stay back on? It says it's a fuse, and I saw a little fuse in there. That thing is genuinely hard to get back on. But if anyone has advice for me in the comments, I'd love to know it, because this thing sounds like it's got a dry set of bearings somewhere, and I don't know how to get to it or oil it. I think it's associated with the fan back here. At first I thought it was the door on the breaker panel rattling, but it is not. Alright everyone, I'm going to put a piece of plywood over this until I get the chance to move it deeper into the yard and out of the driveway. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'm going to put these in the house right now and start trickle charging them all winter. And I got to cover up the exhaust pipes. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.